Welcome to Get Valiant number 130.
130.
The big 130.
That's just crazy, man. Like I say this a lot, but it's just so weird how I don't know. I remember just posting in a group like, I want to talk about Valiant Comics, and Josh was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm down." And then here we are, however long later, and we've added another awesome co-host who's taken our show to a completely different level. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy to think of where we've come. I don't know.
Upgrades.
it's
Yes.
great.
I don't know. It just tripped me out, guys. So one thing I was going to ask you guys, and I just wanted to drop this on you. Oh my God, my phone. I just wanted to drop it on you. We had talked about this ahead of time, but we talk a lot about Valiant Comics. What is something non-Valiant that you're reading right now that you think people need to know about?
Ooh, reminds me of what Justin Jordan had on his Facebook that I think all of us are part of. Um, the one that I'm really getting into right now is Immortal Hulk. I'm loving Immortal Hulk right now. I don't read a lot of Big Two. So this is just kind of horror story going back to Bruce Banner. So I'm loving it. That's kind of like my call out, but everybody's calling out that book. So, and then of course Gideon Falls. Anybody who's a Lemire fan, Valiant. So those have been my two big ones right now.
I've heard both of those are really, really good. How about you, Josh?
Um, you know, I don't read any monthly books right now that aren't Valiant, except for I am reading our friend Frank Gogol. He has a book from Source Point Press called Dead End Kids, and I have read that because he had sent me digital copies of the books a long time ago. However, my shop, I went there today to pick up books. I had it on my hold, and they're like, "Oh, you don't get it until issue three comes out." Like, who the fuck's like picks up a miniseries at issue three? So,
Weird.
but I've read that, and I read a lot of collected editions. I mostly read like old Marvel and DC like trade papers and things like that. So, um, I'm kind of a boring reader right now. I'm just reading Valiant right now.
Well, I will say something that has pretty well blown me away. Absolute carnage.
Oh,
This has been
Oh yeah,
nuts.
that's Donny Cates, right?
Um, Donny Cates, yes. Ryan Stegman is doing the art. It's pretty redonkulous. Um, the first issue of it was pretty mind blowing. So, yeah, like I said, it's kind of cool to talk about other stuff. I mean, I'm sure that we all, read a bunch of different stuff, so it's kind of nice to just chat about a couple other things. Obviously, we don't have to get too deep into them, but yeah. Other stuff going on. We got some solicits, if I'm not
That is
mistaken.
right. We got solicits. Let's talk about this one first that we got up.
Ooh, man, oh man, I needs me one of those. I'm trying to come up with a pitch for Greg Katzman to try to convince him that like that he needs to send me one of those for review purposes. You know, uh,
oh, we
I'm
all
not.
need one for review purposes. What are you talking about,
Yeah.
man?
What's that?
We all need one.
Yeah, 100%,
I promise to
absolutely.
do a video on it. Promise. So
Yeah, we will
We we
totally
will, we will,
do a big. We can do a whole episode about how awesome each of our copy of the carbon fiber
yeah.
variant is.
Greg, I know you listen, so
Value them at
please
all.
Yes.
please do it.
Take care of your guys.
Yeah, no, I wish. Man.
You know, one thing though, if you look at the pictures, I'm sure the pictures don't do this one justice, but it looks really cool. I think the art on it is great. Colors really pop. It stands out. I think it's a stronger cover than that Declan Shelby cover, personally. Which is something I wish that maybe they would be using that cover instead for the A cover.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I could not agree with that more. I don't think Declan Shelby is a bad artist by any means, but
oh
if
no, no.
if you look at this book, like the interiors, the tone of the book, I just feel like that Declan Shelby cover doesn't really fit it. But isn't that John Boy
Yes.
Myers on the? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that John Boy Myers cover. I mean, all of his covers are awesome. I mean, we're going to be talking about Killers, the A cover on that issue. He's done a lot of covers for Killers, actually, not just regular covers, but there's a store exclusive for number one that was another John Boy Myers cover. Um, yeah, he's been doing amazing stuff with all of his covers. So I completely agree. Although, if I don't think that carbon fiber variant would be as attractive or as cool if you swap the covers. Like if you put the Declan Shelby cover.
Oh no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I don't
I
really
know.
like the. But I think like as far as the selling point goes on this book, I've heard a lot of people who are just like, well, I like Shelby. I just don't really dig that A cover. I do wish it was just something different, but we'll just kind of see, I guess, you know. But I'm just not a fan of it.
There are just so many other badass covers that have come out for that. I don't know if you guys saw it, but Brent Peoples posted that he actually did an exclusive cover for it. I think it was for a store.
I saw
It's
that
for
today.
A Comic Con in Houston. Thing looks good.
That's what it is, which makes sense because I'm pretty sure he's from Texas. But
Yeah.
that cover looks like it's really, really awesome. Oh, hey, Crispy Bacon's here. What's up, Crispy? um,
He's
yeah,
our favorite.
I'm a huge fan of that carbon fiber variant. I really hope that you know, Greg or somebody at Valiant takes pity on us, hooks us up. No, but I think that anybody who gets to add that to their collection is going to be very happy with it. It looks amazing. Hopefully, it will be gradable. I don't know if CGC has weighed in on that, but hopefully, people will be able to get them graded because I know that's important to a lot of collectors. But yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm in for it. So, and I love John Boy Myers, like you said, and then what he did with Rise covers too. Fallen World. He did a lot of Fallen World. Those looked good. So, and then like we were saying, the solicits have came out for November.
Oh, that Rye cover that you had up there was badass.
Yeah, I'm digging it. And so that's kind of the big news is Rye #1 is in November. So Fallen World's gone for a month. I believe next week is the last Fallen World. So we're going to have October off of Fallen World, then come into November with Rye. So we'll get Rye right back on the shelves.
Which I think is really badass. I think that I mean 1 month break is almost no break at all, effectively.
Right.
And I think that the fact that we've got Dan Abnett kind of putting his toes in the water with Fallen World, with kind of getting a feel for the Valiant universe and for the future portion of the Valiant universe, to me, it says a lot that Valiant wanted him to write another story, that he was interested in writing another story, and that this is the exact continuity book that a lot of Valiant fans have been asking. Fallen World was a perfect continuation of the continuity that we already had, and then this Rye book, having read the first issue, I still haven't read the last issue of Fallen World, but having read the first issue of Rye, it seems like that Rye book is going to follow directly out of Fallen World and not skip a beat. It looks like it's an exact continuation, not like a fresh start or whatever. Like it's a fresh start, and I'm sure it'll be good for jumping on, but it's got that continuity a lot of fans are asking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the one thing I think that's really interesting about this is that a lot of times when we get these little mini events, we have to wait a prolonged period of time before we get that next book that follows up with it. So I think that this is a really great move by Valiant that Fallen World is happening. People really like Fallen World too. They've really enjoyed the book. There's a ton of positive reviews and talk about it. And so small break going right into Rye. And I wish that's something that they could do more with these characters when they do these mini events. It would have been amazing if after Incursion happened, we had a 1 month break, and then all of a sudden we had something that had Galad and Tama in it, and we could kind of continue the story about what's going on with them. Because that book has a lot of stuff going on in it too, where it just seems like there's a lot of seeds planted for what could happen with those two characters. We have no idea when they're coming back. So at least with this one, with Fallen World going into Rye, that's a great move by Valiant.
Oh,
Totally agree.
absolutely. Yeah, pumped up for it, and then having Reap's art on it is going to be even more amazing. And knowing there's dinosaurs in it, I'm for it. So, yeah, give me Rye.
And Reap's art,
Yeah,
honestly, man, like after Clayton Crane and Kafu kind of had a stranglehold on the artistic direction of the future stuff, Fallen World didn't quite hit the mark for me. And I was really worried that Reap's art was going to be more of the same, that it wasn't really going to feel right. But I got to say, even though the ash can that we got doesn't have all the colors and everything, it looks amazing. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but obviously there are what I mean. We finally are getting to 7 books. Am I right there?
yeah,
We're getting seven
yeah. We'll
books.
be at 7 right there. So that'll get us at 7. Livewire number 12 was stated on there that it's the finale for that. So this is going to be her hero journey from what they say what started off in Secret Weapons and gets us to this day. So that's kind of what we predicted to happen there. Another Roku book, Killers number 5 will be ending. Then we get Bloodshot number 3. Yeah, I think the only thing that really came out as a surprise for anybody was the fact that Exo Manowar wasn't on there in November. Because if you look at some of the images here, it says November 2019. So
Yeah, it's a bummer, because a lot of people have been waiting for that book. And I think that Rye might have just been the book that had to happen when it did. Valiant trying something new by not waiting too long. Also, I think with Livewire ending, December is a perfect opportunity for EXO to happen then. But it is a shame, because again, these characters wait for so long. We've had such breaks with all of them
right.
that these breaks that go too long. And well, one more month.
Right. Well, and the thing is EXO is the book that sells. I mean, he is the main character for Valiant. So I mean, even at the very end of Matt Kent's run, I mean, it was still doing over 7,000 books. So it's continually the number one book for Valiant. So it's one of those ones that you hope there's a good story that comes with it, but he is the most name recognition of like Valiant characters right now.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think it would be cool if we were getting it in November, but I don't really consider it that big of a deal that we're not. I think that if they're taking another month, I think Valiant has earned enough of my trust for me to believe that there's probably a good reason that we're waiting another month before we get that first issue. Um, Plus, I mean, if they're planning to do something really big as we get into 2020, I think throwing Exo Manowar on the shelves in December, and by the time the Bloodshot movie comes out and people start looking into the Valiant universe in February, there's only going to be 3 issues of Exo on the shelf. And not that 4 would be a huge barrier, but only having 3 issues of Exo on the shelf, I think, makes it that much easier for a new reader to say, wow, this is an accessible book with what other people are saying is a core character of the universe. This is a good thing for me to jump on. So again, it's not like 4 would be a huge difference from 3, but at the same time, I think having less of those issues is a good thing.
Yeah, and plus, I was going to say, Valiant doesn't ship books late either. So this is only a good thing, too, if they needed a little bit additional time to get things ready for this first storyline, or if there's just something holding up the release of this book. I'd rather everything be out when it's all finished. We don't get any books delayed. So give them that extra time because, again, like Valiant's track record has just been so great when it comes to shops. They're not so great on hardcovers because hardcovers sometimes don't seem to come out when they're supposed to. But whatever it takes to get the issues out on time, if it takes another month to push it back, that's the best thing that they should do for it then.
Publisher extraordinaire.
I completely agree that I would rather not have it in the solicits when they told us it was going to be, as opposed to not have it on the shelf when they told us it was going to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then shout out to Fred Pierce, who is the publisher from Valiant since 1992. So he's been there from the beginning. But yeah, I mean, it kind of, as long as they don't do what they did with Psylords on Free Comic Book Day, was that 3 years later?
It was many years.
Yeah.
So here's a question to kind of go back to the solicits. What of those books that were solicited, do you guys have like a 1 or 2 that you're most looking forward to?
Yep.
I mean, I can say that I'm still looking forward to Bloodshot a lot. I'm not looking forward to Rye as much since I've read that first issue, and I like it, but a little bit of it's been spoiled for me now. So there's not as much excitement for it for me. But Bloodshot, Roku's something I'm very excited for also. Especially that cover that's like her butt cover, which is just kind of weird looking, but Can't stop looking at it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I would say for me, like Bloodshot's an obvious for me. Like I'm definitely excited to get that going, but I really feel like at this point, Psylords is the one that I'm most excited to see, like where we're at by the time we get to issue 6. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I have a pretty solid handle on what Bloodshot's going to be from having read the Ashcan of the first issue. Same with Rye. Livewire, we kind of know where that's going, that we're coming to an end. Killers is really badass, as we'll get into, and Doctor Mirage is good. But I think that the one that really stands out to me is like, I can't wait to get there, is Psylords. And Roku, actually, I know you mentioned Roku, Josh. That's another great fucking book that looks like it's going to be amazing. Like, I know a lot of people are kind of poo-pooing the idea of Valiant doing a solo Roku book, but I mean, there was all that negative feedback when they announced a Forgotten Queen book, and that ended up being really good. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of expecting Roku to be better than that. I think that there's a really good chance, especially with Cullen Bunn writing it. I think we've got a really good chance of getting a phenomenal book out of that. But yeah, I think Psylords is the one that I've got to say I'm most pumped to get to.
Yeah.
You know, with what we've gotten solicited.
And I think I'm going to agree with you there, Eric. That Psylords and the Raoul Allen Psylords cover is freaking phenomenal. The one I have posted here, you're going to come up in a second. And I have to say, like last week we talked about Psylords. I brain farted until I finally saw one of the Psylords books in print, because we've been reading them in our review copies. That I finally noticed that Scion is wearing a 90s Psylord uniform. And so, and then this cover here definitely highlights that. So that actually changes my aspect of the story a little bit more. You know what I mean? To kind of get some more ideas of who the actual Psylords are and where that's going. So I'm excited. I'm a lot more excited for it. And I think by issue 6, we're going to know a lot more about who the actual Psylords actually are in this book. And Fred Van Lente will quit screwing with us, and we'll know what's up.
I think it's going to go the other direction. I think that we're going to continue getting stuff like we got in the most recent issue where, yes, some questions will be answered, but I think that there's a very, very high likelihood that even more and even deeper questions are going to get brought up as questions are answered. You know, because, I mean, we found out a bunch of stuff in this last issue, but then at the end of it, we found out that we actually knew nothing about Scion or his motivations or what was really going on, you know, with his history. So I think that that's what's going to happen. I think as the questions that have been brought up so far get answered, we're only going to find broader, deeper
and I'm hoping not,
not
because I feel like a lot of readers are going to pull off on it that don't have the patience to go for it. And it might be one of those books that may frustrate people issue to issue, but it might be a great, great book to binge all at once. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm ready for the end of Killers. I like what we got so far. We'll talk more about that. That's the other book I'm excited for. So, Psylords, Killers, kind of really the ones that to see where they are, see what happens, and hopefully Killers something could come out of the Ninjak mythos to kind of keep that series or that character storyline kind of going.
So I was having a conversation with a Valiant employee a while back, and that person told me, well, didn't tell me, made a comment about Killers and Roku being, how was it phrased? I can't remember how it was phrased exactly, but what I took away from it was that there's a possibility that Killers and Roku are being used to set up a bigger story. And that would be amazing. Like if we get Killers and we get Roku and who knows, maybe Punk Mambo and some of these other side characters, if we get that stuff to kind of come together and turn into something bigger, like, you know, the Valiant or Book of Death or Armor Hunters or any of these Harbinger Wars, any of these like really big events that have brought multiple books together, I think that would be really awesome. So obviously I don't know if that's what's going to happen. It was kind of just my interpretation of something that was said that maybe I'm reading too deeply into, but that's kind of my hope that we're going in that direction, because I think that would be really cool. And I think that it would do, I know like I was saying before, so many fans are screaming for continuity. I think that it would be really cool to have, another event come up that follows directly out of the pages of some of these other titles, so we can kind of see that continuity, the connectivity of the universe, and all the characters coming together. Because
Yeah.
one of the benefits of Valiant being a small universe is that it's easier to bring everybody together than it is a DC or Marvel.
One of the questions I had for Robert Myers at Emerald City was the next big event, and he basically gave me a word, and I kind of connected the dots. He said it's going to be cosmic, and so you actually look at Psylords #1, their middle variant. They called that the cosmic variant. So just tying that together, and then if it does somehow get Roku and Killers tied into that, and getting EXO coming in with, looks like but from the art looks like another space adventure. Hopefully I'm down for that. So I do like the continuity. I do like it when they bring it together, and it is fun when you start seeing those breadcrumbs, those little Easter eggs that you find from each book that come together. So I'm for that.
Well, and also the way I think about it is that if Killers and Roku are connected, if they're a story that builds into something else, it just makes that section of the Valiant universe that much better, because we always need more story in the Ninjak corner of this world. And I love the fact that we can get stuff like that. It doesn't always have to be the main characters. Killers is a book comprised of basically characters we've never even seen before, and it'll be great to talk about later because it's been such a good book. But you don't need Ninjak to sell that book. I mean, maybe it helps a little bit, but we're getting a better experience learning about these other characters that exist within that same corner.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. Well, I don't know if I should say favorite, because I love a lot of stuff about Killers. But one of the things that I love about that book is that, it seems like Christos Gage did that awesome run on Ninja K, and B. Clay Moore came along and was like, these are some really badass characters. We need to flesh them out. And now we're getting these badass characters fleshed out.
Let's talk about that in a little bit more
I'm
here when we get to that book, man, because there's a lot to that I want to talk about. And then kind of touch base with anybody who wants to jump on and get into the live chat. Put your questions, put your comments up below. Oh, Miss Eric. Hello.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Oh, my wife decided that she needed to jump in for a second there. No, so what are we going to hop into? I know Crispy Bacon is saying he hopes that everything connects too, and yeah, I'm 100% on board. I think that a lot of us fans would love to see that. As much as I'm okay with books that don't focus on continuity, I like when they do. But yeah, Doctor Mirage #1. This is a brand new book. This is crazy, man. And just for everybody who knows, we are going to go into spoilers here. So if you haven't read the books, I definitely recommend that you do. But having said that, I am not convinced that this 16-year-old girl, I don't remember her name, whatever,
Grace,
this girl,
or Gracie.
Grace,
I'm not
isn't it?
convinced that.
Grace or Gracie?
Yeah, Grace. Yeah. I'm not convinced that what she's telling Dr. Mirage is true. I'm really wondering if there isn't something else and deeper going on. But having said that, one of the things that I really liked about this was the way the writing, Magdalene Visaggio, I don't know, the way that she, the voice that she uses, the way she's kind of like, has this, not only Dr. Mirage narrating, but kind of like Dr. Mirage's like leftover, I don't want to say fantasy, but like this imagined version of her life as a reality show, because it used to be. Like, I thought that was a really cool touch. And I honestly, I was very reserved in terms of my hopes for what this book could be. And I feel like I was pretty pleasantly surprised by it.
I liked it a lot. I thought this book really started out very well. It just kind of got going from the beginning. It really set up who she is. We've had stories with her in the past, and it's been a while since she's had her own solo adventure again. Last time I think we saw her was in Incursion, and before that, she was in the Coalition storyline within Ninja K. So I'm convinced that like she's probably dead from the explosion from the spell that happened, but I don't know if she's necessarily in hell because we haven't really seen that represented too well within the Valiant universe. This could just be a section of the dead side. It could be that this Grace person is a demon and that they're not really the most honest of characters to begin with in stories. But I do think that Mags totally nailed the character. I love the art and the coloring on this. I believe the coloring is Jordi Belair, who I like. I like when Jordi works with Juan Jose Reap a lot, which sadly she doesn't. I think Sandy Dahl also just works with Juan now, but the colors on this are just superb. It's really vibrant. I love the color palette on this. And I'm not too familiar with Robles. I think he worked on Euthanauts over at IDW. I'm not sure. So that might be the only time I've seen his work. But I think this is great, you know, and so used to seeing how these stories were depicted by Roberto De La Torre on the old series. And he had a good look for it. Those books were dark, and they belonged in a dark setting. And here it doesn't have to be that. We don't have this bleak world, and we're not traveling and traversing through the dead side like we were in those books. But I'm real curious to see where this goes. It seems like not everything is going to be as it appears.
Yeah, I mean, to give like a little brief, I mean, Doctor Mirage, she cannot see the dead people right now, so she's kind of like lost her powers, and she's trying to get that back so she could see her husband again. And she ends up setting a curse, and boom, this curse happens, and then Grace comes around. And that's kind of where I'm agreeing with you guys on that I don't believe that, I don't know what her deal is. I don't think it's as it's set out to be, and it hardly ever is. When you're looking at a first issue of a comic book, when it comes to something like this, when it's a mystery kind of story like this. But you know, she sets the curse, and boom, there's Grace to kind of say, hey, we're both actually dead, we're just in our body, we're not really in our bodies, type of thing. It's kind of a weird connection there. And it's a first issue, right? You're not gonna get spoon fed right up front. And so it kind of felt like it was a quick read. I don't know if you guys felt that as well. I felt like, okay, I'm done with it already.
I felt that when I read the Ashcan, but I didn't feel that this time. And I think the art being boosted up by the colors kind of helped that a little bit. It gave me a chance to look at it, because I remembered last week when we had the conversation about art, sometimes it's easy just to get sucked into a book and not pay too much attention to the art. And this time I had that kind of mindset where I was like, I want to look at the art. I want to appreciate it a little bit more. So looking at this book, it's a pretty book, but I mean, like, if you just read it, it's pretty quick.
Just those colors, yes. Jordi Belair's colors are amazing.
And then
keep showing that, Eric.
This basically 2-page spread. That shit is bonkers,
that is
man.
Acid, man. That is acid. Trent,
like, I don't know. That's the only word I can think of to describe this. Also, the other thing that I noticed a lot in this is that there are so many facial expressions in this book. Like, it is a very, very facial expression heavy book. And that would be like my biggest positive thing that I can say about Nick Robles on it. I don't think that he's not a bad artist by any means, but I don't love the line work. I think it's better, and I enjoy it more than I did Roberto De La Torre. I know Josh really liked his take on Dr. Mirage, but I actually really did not enjoy the other two series we've gotten of Dr. Mirage from VEI. And that's part of why I didn't have super high hopes for this book, because I love Dr. Mirage when she shows up in other people's stories, like Incursion. That was great. When she showed up in Ninja K was awesome. But I've not really enjoyed her solo books, so I was pretty reserved about this. But I think that the writing and then the coloring are actually the two things that really make this a phenomenal book. Like, I honestly, I'm pretty excited to see where this goes, and I'm way more invested in Dr. Mirage than I ever have been before, just from this one issue.
That's interesting. You know, I know that I've liked the other two series a lot. Especially that first miniseries that she had. I think at the time I thought it was one of the best things that Valiant had put out. But I do really like the character, and I do really like her adventure. So for me, I'm actually had a little bit of an opposite feeling than Eric did, where I've liked what we've had before, and with a new writer coming on the character to tell a tale for 5 issues, I was a little bit hesitant because you just never know like what their take is going to be. And Mags hasn't written for Valiant before, but I do like her writing, and I just read Eternity Girl by her, which was I thought was just fantastic. So I'm really happy with the fact that I feel like this is the start of going 3 for 3 on Doctor Mirage having solo adventures.
Yeah. Did you guys see Doctor Mirage on CW?
I read about that it was going to happen at one point, but we haven't really had any more news about
It just reminds me of Jennifer Love Hewitt's Ghost Whisper, which was on CW. Dr. Mirage is kind of it's. I like to see her in other books. It's a good story. She's a good character. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just kind of I'm lukewarm about it. I'm not like all for it. I'm not against it by any means either. But I enjoyed it. It was a good book.
So for me, like, this book, I don't think is perfect, but I feel it deserves a pretty strong score. I'm at a 4.25 on this one. I think that if the line art was a little closer to my preferred style, I don't want to say if it was better, because I don't think it's lacking in quality. It's just not my preferred style. So if the line art was a little closer to my preferred style, I'd probably be at a 4.5. But that's the one thing dragging it down a little bit further for me. But I would say, like I said before, the writing is phenomenal and the coloring is just nuts in this book. And I think that you really need that in a book that is... I think that the coloring really, really helps the tone of this book. I never read that Ashcan, so I don't know what it looks like without colors, but I can't imagine it's even half as good. Like, the colors add so much to this, so much of the emotion and tone. This is one of those times where I think the color is probably going to come out underrated in most people's viewing of this book. Like, I think when most people read this, they're not going to realize how much those colors add to it. But yeah, I think that's something that we've probably said about Jordi Belair before, because never a falter on colors from her.
Yeah, and it's probably been a while since we've kind of gone real. We've made the comments so heavily about how much the colorist really does help define the art. But we've talked about that a lot in the past, and I feel like Valiant always brings good coloring to their books. So on my score on this, it's going to be just a tad higher. I'm going at a 4.5. I really like this. I think it's great. It's about time we had more Doctor Mirage, and there's got to be something with this Grace. She's not at all what she seems. So we'll just see what happens next month with her.
I liked it. I thought the book was well done. Like you said, it's the art was not bad, but it still was good. The coloring, again, we talked about that, and writing was, I'm interested to see where the plot goes. It set the tone for the stage of where we're at. It did that well in a first issue, so I applaud that. But like for right now, for like my enjoyment and what it got me, I think I'm going to be at like a 3.75 right now.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So good book all around. So Sean is asking if, and now I don't remember this because like I said before, wasn't a huge fan of the previous Doctor Mirage stuff, but he's bringing up the point that colors indicated different things in the previous Doctor Mirage books, like living things, dead things, magical things. So he's, making the point that maybe the colors are kind of an indicator of what's what, kind of. And I guess that's an interesting thought, but I don't know if we'll really be able to tell whether that's the case until we're probably a couple more issues in, because I think right now, nothing is what it seems, and I think that puts us in a position where it's really hard to tell how to interpret that kind of thing. What do you guys think about that point?
Well, I think that's hard to say because David Barron colored the original minis, and they go with a dark color palette on that book. So there's not a lot of anything like this. Like the coloring is so vastly different from between like those tales that were written by Jin Van Meter and then this one. That's hard to say. I can't answer that.
So here's something that I just realized. This is a little bit is her reaching out for the world and falling out of control. And then the second page is her plunging into darkness. And then we pick up in the third page where she's waking up in bed in her home, which I think is kind of her...
But how much of that's just symbolism and how much of that's actually what's going on? Because we don't get an explanation for what those events are.
So I think it's symbolism of her being dead. That's what I'm taking away from it. And then as far as Sean's point of the colors symbolizing different things, I mean, there's a massive difference in the colors from Dr. Mirage just kind of sitting on the floor reading a book, like we're seeing on the page, versus when she reads that spell and everything goes crazy and the colors become, as Crispy Bacon put it, trippy as fuck. And then as soon as she reads the other incantation to stop it, the colors go back to being that kind of drab color that the rest of those previous pages were. And then the only other time I think when the colors really change is when Grace takes that pill and then touches Dr. Mirage and everything just goes wild.
Did you notice in the first page when she's reaching up, like when the arm is reaching up to the world, that I think that's Gwen's face in the planet, the world.
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
Let me see.
And I think they actually had that image, black and white. Valiant was teasing that image on social media for a while too.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know, man. There's so much going on in this book. I think the writing is really good, and the art is brought to a completely different level by those colors. Yeah. And I think that Sean brings up something good, that a really good point that I'm definitely going to be paying attention to as we move forward into the next issues, because I think that there's a good chance that, that those colors could help us kind of know how to interpret events that are murky. Because right now, like we were talking about, we don't really know what's going on. But
good point, Sean.
But drugs are good.
This is why I love the live chat. But okay, we got another book to talk about. Oh, Killers #2, you guys. Killers #2. This is like we were saying. John Boy Myers has that A cover of who is he? Ninja J.
Yeah.
God, it's bad. Oh, that cover's pretty badass too, with the Yonin and everybody in there.
I got the pre-order edition cover, and I'm not digging it. Yeah. I just think that Will Spartacio's art is not great. However, there's one thing I do actually really like about this cover, is that I'm finally glad that we have a ninja in the MI6 program that's blonde-haired, because a few years back, about 4 years ago, I went to a benefit for Sal Voluto, the old Bloodshot artist from the Acclaim days. And I got a sketch cover done of Ninjak from the Ninjak ongoing that Matt Kent launched. But the artist gave me like a sketch with a blonde-haired Ninjak. So I'm glad that one exists. I can always tell them it's Ninja F.
Yeah, obviously. That's what that artist was intending the entire time.
Yep. This guy must have had some eye into like what was going to happen in the future with Valiant. So kudos to dude whose name I never even caught.
Nice.
This book is wild, you guys. Like, and I've been saying this for quite a while. That first issue of Killers, I thought was good. This issue is the one that has me totally sold on this book. I love these characters. Snapdragon is so fucking cool.
All the characters are way cool in this. Like, everybody's cool.
Snapdragon.
That's what's so great about it.
Yeah, I dig Snapdragon. She definitely looks like a tough one. And then, Ninja G, dude. I think she's a new fan favorite, though.
I would totally read a Ninja G solo book. 100%. Absolutely. I would read a solo with her.
I would read a Ninja F book if it was just like a one-shot that talked about how he liked to get arrested and just eat meals in jail. Like, I'm not into it.
Dude, yes.
that guy was
a whole book of like jail cuisine, and he just makes like that ghetto stuff that they eat
But
in the
he
toilets and stuff
just
like
got
that.
high, and they're using Jordy Belaire's colors.
So this page is the last page. Again, spoilers. But this fucking page, man, when Snapdragon is like,
Yeah.
because Ninja J is trying to come after her, and she's like, oh no, let's fucking do this.
Can I go back on Josh's point of Ninja F, right? Let's say that he was in jail with Armstrong, dude. That would be a great little duo. Just
Can you imagine? Okay. So we would need like a delinquent style team up with like Archer and Armstrong, and then you would need Ninja F and then Ninjak. That would be perfect. Because Ninjak would be having.
I don't even think you need Ninjak for it. You can just have Armstrong and Ninja
just
F.
back
And that would be that if you just get someone who could get like
That's
Elliot.
what I was about to say, get Elliot.
Have him write it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you need a straight man for each comedic character, right? So like,
but maybe you make Armstrong the straight man in this one.
Oh God. Actually, you know what? I bet that would work if you just had the two of them team up and have Armstrong come in, and it would start out with him thinking he's like a crazy wild guy. Then he would meet Ninja F and be like, "Wait, hold on, dude, you got to chill out a minute here."
Or make him do like a wife swap. That'd be pretty dang funny. Woody and Ninjak.
But like Josh said, all of these characters are so awesome. Like, I already really like Ninja G from Christos Gage's work on Ninja K. I already thought she was awesome and wanted more of her. And she is kind of taken center stage in this book, and she's so badass. And then, like we said, Ninja F is a badass. Ninja J is a badass. Ninja I is a badass. Like, we're just getting this whole slew of these really, really awesome characters. And I think they're all going to fight each other. You know what I mean? And this is the perfect example of what action stories can be, in my opinion. You get the, like, really badass action. You get over the top. You get explosions and fights and superhuman powers and all this craziness. But there's also, like, a real plot going on. And, of course, most of the plot is just Yonan pulling the strings in the background and everybody else trying to figure out what's really going on. But I think, man, this book is firing on all cylinders. Yeah. That's probably the best.
And it's continuity at its best, right? Because you're talking about, these are characters that, whether you know it or not, Ninjak #1, they were listed, they were mentioned somewhat in the art when they're showing the ninja program. And he's like, there was a Ninja A, right? And so it's kind of kept going, and then goes into Christos Gage and where we're at today. So it might not necessarily have Ninjak in it, but it is still like holding that together, where it's giving us a fan service to give us something from the old in with the new to change with it. I dig it. I like that these characters all have their unique voice. They're all, each one of them. That's something B. Claymore does really well. That I'm excited to have for B. Claymore. And then just this art is working with it. I don't know much about Fernando Dagnino, but and Villarrubia. Villarrubia's colors have always been good, but it's digging it. It's doing action really well. I'm loving the action it's showing.
That sequence, I was gonna say, while you're talking about Dagnino's art, the sequence where Ninja G goes to free Ninja F is so well done. Yeah. Just there's no dialogue to it. You have to use your eyes to kind of understand what's being conveyed with the action, but it's done so well. And and with this whole book, I just feel like I had said earlier, you don't need Ninjak to sell a story that kind of revolves around characters that exist within his world. I really think that this book is strong enough that people should be really interested in it, just because it does kind of make itself so far a worthy successor to Christos Gage's Ninja K run.
I totally agree. I wouldn't complain if Ninjak showed up at some point, but I completely agree with you that you don't need him for this book to be amazing. I will say,
I wouldn't complain if B. Claymore took on did Ninjak next year.
After he did Savage too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, give us more Savage, but give us Ninjak too.
Also, yes, both. Let's do that.
What do you guys think of...
One thing I will say is, Oh, I was just gonna say, like, we came from this Doctor Mirage with the trippiest, in most insane colors, and then as much as Jose Villarubia's colors are good, it's weird to go from that like in your face, eye popping color palette to this a little bit more gritty, subdued color palette. Which again, it's not bad. It's all really well done, and it fits
But
the
I think
art
that's what it
perfectly.
needs. I think that's what the art needs with what the setting
Right.
is.
I totally agree. It's just a weird juxtaposition to have both of those books. Um, but that's also a good thing that they look extremely different. Something that I've always found is like if you read a lot of DC books, you start to realize that they, other than a couple of standout artists, all the books look the same. Same with a lot of Marvel stuff. So it's really
House
nice
styles,
huh?
house
House style.
style.
Yeah. Yes. That's a good way to put it. That's what it is. And I feel like we're seeing with Valiant that we're getting wildly different styles. Like there's no attempt to try to make the books all look the same because they shouldn't look the same. And but yeah, I totally agree that probably the strongest art sequence in this book is that silent portion when Ninja G is taking out all those guards. She throws a sword through the guy's gun and into his throat, like, and then the page where it's just Ninja F listening to all the guards get the shit kicked out of him. I thought that was pretty cool. Um, yeah, I love these characters. The only bad thing about this book is the fact that it's a mini series. That's the biggest negative. For me, I mean, I'm gonna go 4.5. I don't want to overinflate the score and go with like a 5 or 4.75. I want to be, you know, real. But I do think that this is a slightly better book than Doctor Mirage from my perspective, and definitely something that I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. And I just don't want it to end. I really hope that after we get number 5, a month or two later, we'll get some kind of continuation, whether that's a Ninjak book or what. I just want more B. Claymore writing these characters.
Yeah, this one's a really hard one to score because I keep thinking about how much I liked and enjoyed Doctor Mirage. And it's like I could go at 4.5 on this. I liked it just as much, but they're such vastly different books. But I am going to go with a 4.5 on this one also. They both these. This was just such a good week for Valiant's books.
Yeah, I liked it. This is yeah, I've always liked B. Claymore's writing, and yeah, Killers is the where it's going and how it's using the Ninjak world necessarily is pretty awesome for me. I like the characters and where yeah, all the above. So I'm gonna say 4.5 with you guys as well. I liked it. Excited for more of it. So rock and roll.
You know, if I had anything that worried me, as it tends to be my big worry with a lot of the books that we read from Valiant, just because Valiant tries to be a little more realistic in the approach of how one person would do against another. I always worry that they're going to kill characters off. And I know that Sean made a comment in the chat that he feels like they're going to probably kill off a couple of these characters. And I feel like I like all of them so much already, and they've only even been in like one comic book, and that's it. You know, like we've only had like this. Killers has had 2 issues. We've seen Ninja G, and we've seen we've seen her for 2 issues, and we've seen people for like 1 issue. We've only seen like a couple pages of Ninja F, but I'm already just like, please don't kill any of these characters. Keep them around.
Yeah,
you know?
I think we need more villains sitting in the background that could come out and play every once in a while, and they could be used as pieces for writers down the road who find something of a character that they kind of want to run with. So I kind of hope that they do keep them around, and yeah, we may lose 1 or 2 of them and play Russian roulette, you know. But that's a good point.
It'll be interesting to see how they all work out their key power too. You know.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is so cool about having these types of characters, and one of the reasons why I completely agree that I would like for them to all stick around, is I think that these characters do so much to flesh out the world of Ninjak. Because like, as long as everybody survives this, you know, we could have a Ninjak story in the future where he has to go to the Philippines. Well, he can look up Snapdragon, and they can have a whole other, you know, like that can make that arc of a book completely different than it would have been because we have this awesome other character. You know, it's the same thing with any of these characters, really. If he would have, if this hadn't happened to G, if he had, an arc had taken him to Colorado, he could have picked up G and they could have done, an adventure together, whatever. Like, I think, and they're also just really awesome side heroes, or probably any of them could do their own solo book.
Yeah,
and going off of Eric's idea of like adventures with these characters, how awesome would it be now that like Ninjak's mansion has been burned down, or his castle, his family home has burned down, that he can now just like travel around with Ninja F and eat like really good like prison food. Like that'd be awesome.
I dig it, man. I dig it.
It'd be like a show, like a travel food show on the Food Network. They go around prison, get arrested in different cities to see how the cuisine is.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Sean's mentioning it. The other thing that he had said was that Snapdragon has an identity beyond the ninja program, and I think that's actually true of all of these characters. Like, F's identity is getting arrested. G's identity was, her relationship and the like ski resort she was running or whatever. I don't know what Jay's deal was other than, looking cool and vaping. It seems like they kind of all had their own identity and their own lives that they were living, which is cool because they all feel like fully fleshed out characters. None of them feel two-dimensional. And I think that says a lot that we're 2 issues into this and we've gotten that much of a feel for these characters. It says a lot about the quality of the writing and why we all consistently scored it pretty high.
Yeah, and then what was it, Jay? Yeah, that's when I knew I didn't like him, was that whole like that was my favorite vape pen. Okay, we're not buddies anymore. And then and then Snapdragon. He talks about Snapdragon and the cool name, but it kind of brings out the geek in me that used to be a Qualcomm processor in phones, and I remember it because I thought it was a cool name back then with the processor. But instantly made me think of something geeky there. So, but yeah, dude,
I get what Sean was saying. He mentioned that he was talking about an identity tied to her power. Like she has her own superhero identity. Like Ninjak is only Ninjak. Ninja G, J, F. They're all just that. And then they kind of put that all behind them and went on to try to live normal lives. Whereas Ninja I just embraced it and was like, nah, fuck it, I'm Snapdragon now. So now I get what Sean was trying to say, and actually I agree. I do think that that's really cool. I like that not all of these characters have that, but it would be cool. It is cool to see that. I totally agree with Sean. Now that I understand the point that he was trying to make, I completely agree, and I think that it is really cool to do that with her, and I think it did help to make her seem even more badass than she would have, more quickly than she would have otherwise.
Yeah, like he says, it gives them the hero-villain identity, and maybe we uncover some of that about some of the other characters down the road that they were just really good about being ninjas and not knowing about it. So, but yeah, I totally agree that there's that extra identity to it. So, really makes it stand apart.
Yeah, I mean, just so many reasons this is a phenomenal book, and like I said, the biggest thing that I'm not looking forward to is this ending. And there was a pretty big break in B. Claymore working for Valiant from when he did Savage to now coming in back and doing this. And I hope we don't have to wait that long after Killers is done to get another story from him, because Savage was amazing, and this is turning out to be, I think, even better. So I really, really think that he could flourish if given like an ongoing title, whether that's an ongoing Ninjak book or something else. I think that he could flourish with, kind of doing some world building, character development, and, telling his own stories inside this universe.
I was told that he already has a script for a book that we already want. I was told this back in 2018, that he's already got a script done for something that we would all enjoy. So.
Oh, Bad Eggs, all right.
Bad Eggs is coming.
Finally.
Dude, I've been waiting for it forever.
The Bad Eggs the Angels crossover.
That's right. Hey, but here's the thing. Like I remember when Trinity Angels came out, it was such a terrible book. But if B. Claymore took that and he gave it kind of this twist, where those characters were a little bit more badass and tough. I mean, Killers is full of great characters. I don't know if the name would work still, but I'd check it out.
Bad Eggs meets Savage, man. They're coming together, dude. It's coming.
That's right. The crossover no one thought would ever happen.
I hope we get a Savage too, though. But since we're talking about what could come in the future, we do have one book coming next week?
That is right. We have Fallen World number 5. Close out.
The only reason I'm not upset that Fallen World is ending is that we know that we're getting Rye, and having already read the first issue of Rye, I have a lot of confidence that Rye is going to be a badass book. So at least with Fallen World ending, we're not getting left on a cliffhanger. But I'm really excited to see where this goes. Like, Bloodfather has been really cool, and there's just been a lot of really awesome concepts in it. And that book has done such a good job of both feeling character oriented while at the same time acknowledging that there's this huge world and all these different characters. That's a fine line to walk, and I think that Abnett has done a really good job of walking it.
I'm just happy for more stories set in that timeline, because I feel like there's so much potential there that it's great that there's not going to be a big wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that there's one book in that time. I mean, I'm glad that we don't have a whole lot in that time, because that was always one thing I've loved about Valiant, is that it is the world outside our window type of feel. So I kind of always dug that, but I do appreciate the sci-fi. But I feel like we're getting a lot. We're getting away from the world outside our window. That's why I like Killers so much, right? That's why I've liked Harbinger, those books as well. So I hope that we do stick to some of the core to kind of keep it that route, so that can stay. But this is one I'm not going to complain about. And yeah, when you look at this, what concept do you guys like better? The Fallen World kind of, or just the 4001 version?
What?
Which version do you like better, the concept of Rye? The new one that we're getting for Fallen World?
That design?
Yeah.
I like the new one. I feel like it's more rugged, and I think that it's more badass, whereas the other one felt a little bit too mechanical. The current Rye feels much more humanized.
I feel like this is like how Rye looks now is how he would look after everything that's happened to him, with having this whole world that he existed in crash down into Earth, and having to lead all these people through what's basically an alien world to them because they haven't been on Earth forever. I feel like it's a more realistic look where he doesn't have to maintain like a certain hairstyle or any of that stuff. He's just letting it all kind of hang out. But I do think he looks rad. He has a great look.
Yeah.
I'm digging him, and it's definitely that breaking apart from Father look to it too, where he's not so cut and militant looking necessarily. That he's got a little bit more freedom, a little bit more independence. So I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense, that he'd be scruffy, have a beard, that he'd be a little worse for the wear, in a lot of ways. Yeah, Sean's saying it's cool to have the 41st century stuff, but it just means one less current day book. And I don't disagree. Like, it would be cool if we had 6 or 7 current books. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is that we're getting good stories. And the fact that Dan Abnett has good stories to tell in the 41st century means I want those books on the shelf. And that's kind of my take, too, on, like, the continuity complaint that a lot of fans have. Even if the continuity's not there, if it's a good book, I want that book. Like, the new Bloodshot doesn't look like it's going to be very continuity heavy, but it is very much world outside our window, like Hoosier was saying. And it's also just going to be a phenomenal, badass action book, from as far as I can tell. Yeah.
I agree. I don't think I've ever thought of it like that, because the 4001 timeline has always existed. But going back to Magnus Robot Fighter, we've always had that timeline that exists within the Valiant universe. So to me, it's just a part of everything that we've had for all these years.
Sure.
But I think at the same time, though, when you think about all these characters that get shelved, and we didn't have that issue back in like the 90s, but it's a different comic book world right now. But I do kind of agree a little bit with what he's saying, because where are the Renegades? Where's Archer and Armstrong at? Where are all these characters that we all know and like? And even though we get we still get characters that we like, we still get quality stories. I do get that point where it's like, yeah, but we don't get if we don't know, I get it. But I love that timeline. I love the 4001 timeline.
Yeah.
We had mentioned before, like, EXO had been advertised that it was going to be coming in November, and instead we're getting Rye #1 in November. And I think a lot of fans, while personally I trust Valiant that they're making the right decision there, I think a lot of fans would, given the choice, which would you rather have start in November? I think a lot of people would be saying that they would rather EXO start in November and wait for Rye to start in December. So I think from that perspective, I think that there's, definitely a good point there that kind of putting that Rye book out means that EXO isn't coming out. But at the same time,
but EXO will come out, though. We know that we will get an EXO book.
We will be getting an EXO book. We're going to have Bloodshot and EXO on the shelves as ongoing, and I hope that we just keep adding to that and Rye. We're going to have Bloodshot, Rye, and EXO, all these really kind of tentpole pillar characters on the shelf in ongoing series at the same time. So hopefully we keep adding to that. I hope that not only do we have those books, but hopefully we do get another Ninjak solo title. Hopefully we get some of these other core characters like the Renegades and Archer and Armstrong, Quantum and Woody, and see some more of that. But a lot of that is constrained by the number of books that get put out in a month. I don't think we're going to jump from 6 or 7 books a month to suddenly having 12. So, as long as
I think though, if we're ever going to grow the line, or not us, but like if they're going to grow the line, I think like early next year is a great chance for them to do that, because there's going to be so much recognition of the company having their own movie out. There's probably not going to be a better time to do it.
And they're always going to need just one more book to come out. Just one more. I mean, it doesn't matter. It'd be 12. I want 13. Can't please us. We want just one more. Keep you going. Keep them on their toes. It's because we love you and we want you to have a job. So.
Well, that's why instead of me wanting just one more, just bump the line to 15, and then I'm way happy.
Yes.
If I get 7 books that are really good every month, or even 5 that are really good and 2 that are pretty good, I'm happy. So.
Yep. Yeah, I get my money's worth. That's all I can say.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hope
they rock it.
I think it's going to be really cool to see next week how Fallen World ends. That'll be episode number 131. Definitely looking forward to that and beyond. We've got a lot of awesome stuff coming, as we discussed with the solicits earlier. I also just want to say thank you. Both, Crispy Bacon hanging out with us today. Always fun to see Crispy around. And, of course, Sean Hayes. I always enjoy his contributions to our conversations. I love how Sean does a really good job of 15 is his top number, yeah. Sean does a really good job of bringing up points that sometimes we don't think of. And I love when people do that, whether it's Sean or anybody. And I think that's one of the best things about, when Josh and I switched from recording and then posting these episodes to doing them live, having that interaction really, I think, adds another level to the conversation, because we don't always remember everything. We don't always think of everything. Like we didn't think to discuss the meaning of the colors in Doctor Mirage until Sean brought it up. So
I think we all see something different all the time with these books. Yeah. And that's what's great about this. It's great to have different perspectives and different opinions.
Absolutely. That fan perspective is always appreciated. So thank you, everybody watching, listening, hanging out with us. This has been episode number 130 of Get Valiant. Signing off, I'm Eric Baumgart.
I'm Josh Rathbun.
And I'm John Hoosier. Make sure you subscribe. We're getting at 79. We need to move it on up. So thank you guys for jumping.
100.
Yeah, I want to try to do something when we get to 100. I can't make any guarantees, but we're going to try. Hopefully we can do something cool when we get to 100 subscribers. And one of our favorite things to do, and I know Josh and I have always done this, and I also know that Hoosier's no different. We all really love to give back to other fans. We're just fans ourselves. And we like, when Valiant reaches out and they hook us up with stuff, and, we'll do what we can to try to pass those types of things along. And, see if we can come up with something to maybe do some giveaway or some other, kind of way to give back. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us and listening. And I hope that you all stay valiant.